everybody, and welcome back to another episode. Today, I want to tell you the 7 big concepts I learned spending, wait for it, $159,000 on Masterminds. Yes, I was just doodling on my iPad over here the amount of money I've spent over the years on Masterminds alone. This doesn't even count coaching. And if you don't know me, I'm a big believer that the best investment you can possibly make is in yourself. It is the best possible thing, especially when you're just starting out. If you're just getting started investing, if you're just getting started in business, don't put that money into a self-directed IRA account. Don't put it into a bond or security. Don't put it into a rental property. Put it into the S&M. Invest in yourself. And so I was amazed at how much money I had spent, again, not even on coaching, but just on Mastermind over the years, because this is literally 7 or 8 times what I spent on college. I think I want to say I was spending like $12,000 a year on college tuition, I want to say. So maybe it's only 3 or 4 times that much if you add it all up. But I was amazed at how much value I got from Masterminds as I did from college. And so it really made me realize that I think the future might not be college in some respects to our culture and how we educate the young. It might be mastermind groups. If your kid wants to go and learn how to open up a gym, don't go get an MBA at the University of wherever. Go send them to, Alex Ramosey's, gym launch mastermind. Pay the money. It's less expensive in some cases, and you get way more out of it for what your kid wants to do. And there's masterminds popping up for everything, for contracting, for real estate. I think there's my wife said there's even a mastermind she found about aesthetics, like locally here in Nashville. Like if you're in the aesthetic industry and you want to go rub shoulders with other business owners that own aesthetic stuff or in the aesthetics world and learn it and share ideas and mutually benefit, you can do that. I mean, it's amazing. I personally think it's the way of the future. And so these are the 7 things that I took away. These are eye-opening, mind-melting, brain-blowing concepts that really changed my life. So let's jump into it. Number 1 is I learned to surround myself with success. This was a big part of really figuring out what I needed to do and how I needed to do it. There was a guy in one of the first masterminds I was in was a house flipping and wholesaling mastermind called 7 Figure Flipping. And there was a guy in there named Tyler who was doing these 7-day house flips. 7 days, he'd spend 30, 40 grand renovating a property and it was done. Now, at the time, it was taking us like 3-4 months to renovate properties. This was absolutely amazing. And I asked him if I could fly my team and myself out to see him do it. And we watched him flip I think it was like a meth house or something crazy like that in a week. I mean, it was amazing. And so we went back and we ended up doing like a $70,000 renovation in 15 days. I mean, I'm talking about replacing the foundation, plumbing, electrical, everything, the whole kit and caboodle. It was absolutely crazy. And the only thing we needed was to see that it was possible. A lot of times that's the only barrier preventing you from starting that business or making that investment or taking the first step towards retirement or just getting a return on life in general is you need to be around other people that are doing it to see it, touch it, and see that it's real. So ever since then, when I'm trying to do something, I always try to surround myself with people who are like 2 or 3 steps ahead of me and get consistent access to them, because I know that if I see it, I can believe it. And if I can believe it, I can make it happen. Number 2 is getting a blueprint for your specific business. When I was in the house flipping and wholesaling, I was like an army of like one. It was me and my business partner. And my business partner didn't even live in Nashville at the time. So I was kind of pretty much doing everything. And I didn't know what to do. I didn't know what a mature house flipping business looked like. But the people in this group did. And we would do something called breakout rooms. One of the days we'd go a couple times a year, we'd meet. And in the breakout room, you get in front of the room, you give a brief like, hey, here's me, my business, what I do. Here's like where I'm at. Here's what I'm struggling with. And the group, the people in the room will give you advice like, oh, you need a transactions coordinator. Oh, you need a lead intake to answer the phones. That's your next hire. What are you really good at? I'm really good at sales. Okay. All right. Hire that last. I learned to hire the position that I was best at last. For me, that was sales. So I hired that position last. But I didn't know to do all these things without the input of people who had the blueprint. They had been there, they had done that, they'd already experienced success. And it really helped catapult my personal success in business, being able to get the blueprint from other people. Number 3 is being in a mastermind community prevents catastrophic setbacks. My first year in business, my third deal that I ever did, I decided to build a house, which is kind of funny because after that, it went so bad. I mean, literally, like we sold the house and put it under contract before it was even built. The person's it was like a younger couple, and their dad was a builder, and he would come out and like ask me questions, and I didn't know what the hell I was doing. Like, I didn't hire a builder. I was trying to do it myself to save money, be cheap. You ever done that? And it bites you in the butt. That's what happened. And I just, I felt like a fraud. I couldn't answer his questions. You could see the look in this guy's eyes as he was looking at me going, this guy has no clue what he's doing. And so I thought he was going to try to talk his daughter out of like buying the house, but he was coming to check up and make sure we were doing it right. And I guess he thought we were doing a good job because, well, they ended up buying the house still, but I ended up losing $40,000 on that new build, and it sucked the happiness out of me. That really was what put me over the edge, was trying to do things that I didn't know how to do. I was like managing a couple other rehabs at the same time. I was answering all the phones. I was going on all the appointments. I, had like, I think I'd put like $90,000 worth of materials on my personal credit cards. I had like, I don't even know how much of my own money sunk in this thing, but we ended up running out of money, having to get like a hard money loan. It was a nightmare. I mean, an absolute nightmare. And I can honestly say that after being in masterminds, they really prevented future nightmares like that from happening again, because I realized what I needed to focus on and what I didn't need to focus on. I mean, I could bounce ideas off other people and be like, dude, don't try that. Here's what you're going to run into. Because when we see a new business opportunity or just a new opportunity, maybe the niche we're in, we have this uninformed optimism. Like, we just don't know all the demons that are waiting for us in this particular thing that we're excited about. And then we get into it and we're discovering a lot of things. We're doing that in the supply business right now. We're still relatively green in the supply business, and we're learning how that business goes. So that being able to prevent the future catastrophes is huge. It was a huge, huge, huge takeaway from being a part of the mastermind. Number 4 is you have to surround yourself with a community. The entrepreneur path, no matter what business you're in, it is a lonely road, and you are going to have a lot of tough times along the way. A lot of therapists don't get it. You need people that are around you that are having the same problems that you can talk to and work things out. Because when we're experiencing failure, a lot of times it feels like we're alone. Like there's something wrong with us. And I remember a point in my life where I didn't think that I was cut out to be a business owner, quite frankly. I was like, dude, I've got $90,000 in credit card debt. I've worked for 2 years to try to get this thing to cash flow. It can't make money. I'm struggling to pay overhead. I've got all these hard money loans. I'm barely able to pay. Like, I've read all the books. I've done all the things. Why am I not successful? What is going on? And being able to talk to other people who are on the same journey or who have already been through that journey and get their stories and understand their struggles and get their advice on how to fix it, it's so important to being able to push through those tough times. You've got to surround yourself with a community to talk to and collaborate and share feedback with if you're going to make it in the business world. Number 5 is doing business transactions together. With our supply business, we just sold $60,000 worth of floors to a guy rehabbing an apartment in Florida. We're selling hundreds of thousands of dollars of conduit right now with connections. So it's been fantastic for us. I've met somebody who wrote us a 7-figure check, invested with us. Getting into these communities and meeting people, you're going to do a lot of business, and business is really good for your bank account. So the relationships are fantastic for doing business. Number 6 is you don't know what you don't know. And this you don't know what you don't know concept is you just don't know the things out there that are going to catapult your success because you don't know about them. I joined a mastermind called Raise Masters, and at the time I was struggling because I knew the chokehold on our business was money. We needed more investors to really grow and scale. At the time, we probably had somewhere around $4 million that we had raised, and we were building about $4 million of construction, and we had basically just kind of hit this wall where I had all my own money sunk in, had some investors. It was just tough to grow, and I remember thinking, dude, to get this where I want to get this, I mean, I need $25 million. And the amount of effort it took me to get from 4 to get to 4 million, I'm like, holy crap, it's going to take me forever to get to $25 million. And I joined this mastermind, and they introduced me to this concept called a syndication, where at the time I was raising dollar for dollar. So if I needed to go and build a $300,000 house, I needed to go find $300,000 from an investor. Well, I didn't know what the concept of equity was at the time in syndications. And so I was introduced to this group. I started meeting people, and they're doing this thing where like they're raising money from investors and then using it as leverage or collateral to go get a bank loan. And I'm like, what? And so like they were able to raise like $4 million and then go get $12 million from the bank. And I was like, well, that's kind of cool. How does that work? And so they introduced me to this concept. And overnight, talk with the investors. I'm like, hey, good news, guys. We're going to go from paying you 10% on your money to 18%. How does that sound? And we were able to deliver on that because their money was being used as leverage. We could take the 4 or 5 million, go get 15 million in bank loans, and then boom, overnight, my business just exploded. But I didn't even know that was a thing until I was introduced to this community. So the concept of you don't know what you don't know is very powerful when it comes to masterminds. Number 7, and the last big takeaway I've learned from masterminds is mimic success. I am a plagiarizer. I am a copy and paster. I used to want to pioneer things and do the new things like the Facebook, the Googles, the disruptive technology. Look, there's a reason why those companies are so big. There's a reason why Apple's Apple and Facebook is Facebook, and all these companies have made it big. It's because they did pioneer something. There was a huge need that nobody knew that was there. But for every one of those biggest companies, there are probably millions of companies that did not make it. The best way to grow a business is to mimic success. Don't change the rules. Figuring out what the person that you idolize that is doing what you want to do and just copying and pasting what they're doing, that is the real key to success. And that's what you get when you join Masterminds communities. I hope you enjoyed today's episode.